So, after a very challenging year because of the global pandemic, we have finally reached the end of the F1 season. One of the shortest seasons in F1 history since 1966 at around 161, 162 days. A season that started in mid-July and will end in mid-December. 17 races. We have finally reached the end of the F1 season. Season wrapping up in Abu Dhabi again. And of course, up for Abu Dhabi, this race really, it was what we expected. Nothing really happened in this race. It was a pretty boring race. There were points in this race I almost fell asleep. Then again, I was a little tired because I was getting up at 8 in the morning for it, but still, nothing really happened. It's typical Abu Dhabi. It's a track where it's really hard to pass anybody here. The only way you get track position is on pit strategy, mainly. But not much really happened. In the end, for this race, I think the only thing that might be shocking is the race result, because Max Verstappen with Red Bull starts on pole, leads every single lap, and wins the race. It's the first time since 2013. Yeah, first time since 2013 that Abu Dhabi was not won by a Mercedes car. Mercedes has won every race at Abu Dhabi from 2014 to 2019. With Hamilton getting 3 of those wins and Nico Rosberg getting 2. I'm actually Hamilton winning 4, Rosberg getting 1, and Bottas getting 1. But the streak ends there. And also for this weekend, Lewis Hamilton was cleared to come back to F1 after he had a couple of negative tests for COVID after missing the Sucker GP last Sunday. So he's back, of course. But yeah, Verstappen won this race. And you know what that means. Hit the pit stop, boys.
Much, super, 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 super,
So yeah, Verstappen ends a pretty disappointing season with his second win of the season. Then again, there was nobody on Hamilton's level this year. But of course, despite Verstappen's win, Valtteri Bottas finished P2, and that would be enough for Valtteri to lock up second in the Drivers' Championship again. So Verstappen plays second fiddle to the Mercedes still. And Lewis Hamilton wraps the year up in P3. Really, this was just a quiet race. Nothing really happened. The only safety car that came out was for Sergio Perez's engine failure. But that's it. Nothing happened in this race. It was pretty boring. Then again, what else do we expect? It's goddamn Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi's pretty much a terrible track. There's almost nowhere to really pass unless you're daring and try and full send it. All I say is Abu Dhabi needs to make some changes to the track configuration because these races at Abu Dhabi really haven't been entertaining in years. They've just been really boring snooze fests. But yeah, so now Lewis Hamilton enters next year at 95 wins, 5 wins away from the 100 win milestone. Can Lewis is on pace to get there unless something happens in the offseason. But yeah, so one of the most challenging years in the world in general, 2020. The season is officially over. As 2020, despite having a couple good moments like Chase Elliott winning a championship and all that, the most challenging and one of the worst years is officially over. Of course, New Year's coming in a couple weeks. We'll be heading to 2021. And of course, F1 won't be back now until mid to late March for Australia. And I imagine for F1 next year, at least this first half of the year, I think the first half of the year is going to be a bit like 2020. I think we're going to see limited fans in attendance. But I think by around maybe late August, early September, when F1 comes back from their summer break, I think by around that time span, we should slowly start to see things. We should start seeing things back to normal. We should slowly start seeing things go back to normal by early June. You know, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, F1 season's over. And of course, Kevin Magnussen's F1 career is pretty much over today, with him not having a ride for 2021. Sadly for Magnussen, he just never really fulfilled up to his potential. We never really got to see the best out of him. Maybe one day he'll come back. We'll have to see. And of course, this race also marks the end of Sebastian Vettel's tenure at Ferrari. Let's be real about Vettel's tenure at Ferrari. Vettel's tenure at Ferrari was an absolute failure. It was a failure. Because when Vettel came over to Ferrari in 2015, Vettel came over for one reason and one goal: win a championship. And Vettel failed to do it. So when you don't accomplish your goals in your tenure, what does that mean? Your tenure was a failure. You can make any excuse well you want, saying, oh, but he won this many races and so, and competed for titles. Here's the bottom line. He was brought in to win a championship. He did not win a title. Therefore, tenure was a failure. And the closest Vettel came to winning a championship was 2017 and 2018 when he was right on Hamilton's ass. But would end up pissing the title away in the second half of the season, by means of Spinola and shit. But yeah, and odds are I think Carlos Sainz might only be coming to Ferrari just temporarily until Mick Schumacher is ready to go, since Mick is coming to F1 to drive at Haas. So yeah, a lot happened here. And of course, on Black Monday, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens for the F1 silly season, where we find out drivers' futures and so. So of course, for the F1 silly season, like the last two pieces left, of course, Alex Albon at Red Bull, like his future will be determined sometime this week. A lot of reports I've been hearing a couple of reports that Albon might be getting fired and replaced for Sergio Perez. Because honestly, Verstappen deserves a real teammate to push him to his limits, and that teammate is not Albon. Albon is not the guy to push Verstappen to his limits. Albon is honestly just Verstappen's bitch boy, and will just die on command for Max. Max deserves a real teammate, and he won't. He's not going to get it with Albon. So Albon, it's going to be a time will tell situation. And the interesting thing is that AlphaTauri hasn't decided Daniel Kvyat's future yet. So Kvyat's future at AlphaTauri is still up in the air. We'll probably know later this week, but right now, his is in a time will tell situation. And also an interesting fact is that Lewis Hamilton, as of Monday morning, Lewis Hamilton will be a free agent in the F1 market. Because Lewis Hamilton has yet to sign an extension with Mercedes. But odds are, it's been reported that Lewis is expected to sign an extension. They're just working out some details. Number of years it's going to be will have to be determined. All I know is that Lewis Hamilton's extension, it's going to massively affect Bottas's future with Mercedes. But if you believe a lot of rumors and reports, it's sounding like 2021 is going to be Bottas's last year in Mercedes. And 2022, it's looking like maybe Bottas is getting replaced by George Russell. Especially after George Russell had that impressive run at the Sakir Grand Prix. Just bad pit strategy, Mercedes blowing it cost Russell a win there. Russell should have won that race, but hey, if anyone else deserved to win that race, it was obviously Perez. Of course, Vettel, we know a lot of moves. Vettel heading over to Aston Martin next year to replace Perez. And then you got Daniel Ricciardo going to McLaren to replace Sainz to team with Lando Norris. And then you got Fernando Alonso coming back to F1 to go to Renault, which will become Alpine F1. In fact, Alonso even got to do some test runs in his 2005 Renault Championship winning car at Abu Dhabi, which was a great sight to see during practice sessions and all that. So yeah, that was cool to see Alonso get some laps around in his old championship winning car. going back to its glory days. So yeah, the F1 season is over. The off season now truly begins. So of course, in terms of updates on racing videos, there will be very few in between from now until February. Of course, the NASCAR season predictions expected to come out around late September. Pretty much around the same time I had it out last year. But, yeah. Not a whole lot. So in terms of race reviews, there will be no more race reviews until February. When NASCAR season starts up. But yeah, despite that though, there was some NASCAR silly season news. As in terms of the Xfinity series, where RCR has announced that they will be running the 2-car full time. And the driver getting the nod will be Myatt Snider. So Snyder's going to get an opportunity in Xfinity. And of course, some Stewart-Haas Racing has finally announced who will succeed Chase Briscoe in the 98 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. The driver getting that nod will be Terrible Herbst. Okay, I'm not really surprised. We all knew this was coming. We all knew he was getting the nod. Now, if Riley Herbst cannot get 2 or 3 wins and gets eliminated in the round of 12 again, then we all know Herbst is fucking talentless. And in fact, remember when I said in the predictions video that the competition Xfinity was as diluted as my piss? Well, guess what? I think the racing gods heard my prayers. And guess what? The racing gods are like, you want competition in the Xfinity Field C-RadTV? Our new NASCAR heavyweight champion? Guess what? Your wish is now granted, sailor. Yes, my prayers have been answered. There. Maybe with the Xfinity competition, Xfinity, and now Herbst getting into a top ride now. Maybe Herbst's ceiling is maybe round of 8. Because Herbst still fucking sucks. Honestly, though, it would not be shocking if Herbst is only keeping that seat warm for Hailie Deegan. Whenever Hailie Deegan comes over to Xfinity. But then again, maybe Riley Herbst will be better as a Ford driver than in a Toyota, since Toyota's driver development for young drivers is a complete fucking cesspool. Since Toyota likes to sign a bunch of 15 or 16-year-olds at a very early age with no long-term plans for them. Hell, is there a wonder why Tony Stewart called that shithole program out? Not really. No real surprise there. But yeah, the off-season begins. Now maybe we won't have any more big news. Wait a minute. Nikita Mazepin had a little incident here? For fuck's sakes, I just want to enjoy my off-season, not have to deal with this bullshit. So there was an incident with Nikita Mazepin. Where he might be losing his ride at Haas F1 without even running a race yet. Because there was a photo that came out where Nikita Mazepin decided to be a fucking idiot and group a female and then get her waist and then tried to have sexual favors with her. Nikita, you fucking idiot. You had one job. One fucking job. Don't blow it. You blew it. And also, I would not be shocked if Nikita Mazepin now loses his ride at F1. Let's be real, he was probably going to be second fiddle to Schumacher anyway. Schumacher was going to be #1 driver regardless. But if Mazepin is replaced at Haas, I would probably expect it to be maybe I would expect it they'll probably go with Pietro Fittipaldi probably. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, Mazepin's about to get a lot of heat for this. Like Gunther Steiner's going to have to make a move with him. Because it's going to be a lot of heat on Mazepin for his incident on social media. Because remember when Kyle Larson fucked up and said the N-word, and how everyone took his name, threw in the mud, and then they dragged Kyle Larson to the coal. Larson lost his ride at Ganassi, and then he lost sponsorships and endorsements. You know how when he made a mistake? Well, guess what, Mazepin? Mazepin, you made a mistake. I know he apologized, but that apology is not going to be good enough. You still made a mistake. You fucked up badly. And odds are, with how society is today, Mazepin's about to suffer the Larson treatment. He's about to have his name thrown in the mud and in the dirt, and Mazepin's about to be dragged through the coal. He's probably going to lose a lot. He's probably going to lose his ride with Haas F1. His career's probably going to be over. Cue the Rosberg meme. And yes, Gunther Steiner, he's going to be pissed with himself. He thought he was clear of the drama and BS. But once again, Steiner will be saying to himself,
Why do we have those mass drivers?
don't worry, Steiner. At least you got Mick Schumacher. That's all that truly matters. But yeah, that's really it for F1 this year. You know, no real racing across the big three motorsports until February when NASCAR returns on Valentine's Day for the Daytona 500. A week after Super Bowl 55. And then you got IndyCar returning in mid-May. And then you got F1 returning in mid to late March. I mean, not mid-May, mid-March for F1. IndyCar, and then mid to late March for F1. Yeah, and of course, I did hear about the news, though, with Auto Club being canceled and replaced with the Daytona Roval. So now the first 3 races of the season for the Cup Series will now be in Florida. So we're replacing the West Coast swing with the Florida swing. That's going to be interesting. And Homestead will now be the 3rd race of the season. I mean, it's disappointing that Auto Club's not getting a date, but at the same time, it's kind of a blessing. No, we're get rid of one 550 HP race and replacing with a better race. Even though the Daytona Roval last year was a bit of a disappointment. It was a disappointment, to be perfectly honest. Despite Elliott winning, it was still a disappointment. Who knows, maybe this year will be better than last year's disappointment. But yeah. And also, here's the funny thing. There's been a trend here. Notice how everything Alex Bowman has touched dies? Like, look at Bowman's career. Starts his career with BK Racing. Team goes out of business. Then he goes to Tommy Baldwin Racing. Originally, the team goes out of business, but is reincarnated, but not the same thing. Bowman drives some for Chip Ganassi's Xfinity program. That program is now out of business, is now no more. Also, Alex Bowman got his one and only Xfinity win in 2017 on the Charlotte Oval. That race has now been replaced with the Charlotte Roval. Bowman goes over to the 88 for Hendrick Motorsports. Nationwide Insurance leaves Hendrick Motorsports after 2018. Alex Bowman wins Chicagoland. Chicagoland's no longer on the Cup schedule. He then wins Auto Club Speedway. Now Auto Club's 2-mile configuration is off the schedule. And odds are next time we go to Auto Club, it might be that half-mile short track Hot Wheels configuration with the Martinsville Straights and the Bristol Bank turns. Unless they're going to postpone construction for that too. And of course, some of the reason Auto Club getting canceled this year was the increasing COVID cases down in California. Since California has been super strict on their COVID restrictions. And also, continuing on the trend, the last part here is that Bowman drives the 88 for Hendrick Motorsports, and now the 88 is no longer part of the Hendrick Motorsports roster. All I say is, Bowman, you better not fucking kill the 48 car, so help me God. You better not fucking kill that car, or so help me God. But yeah, that's kind of a weird thing that how Alex Bowman has been the kiss of death in NASCAR, where everything Bowman touches dies. God fucking damn it. I've been trying not to call Alex Bowman Bad Luck Bowman or Bad News Bowman the last couple years. Alex, don't make me go back to calling you that nickname again. I don't want to call you Bad News Bowman. The only bad news I want you to deliver is to your opponents when you beat their ass. Damn it. But yeah, and of course, NASCAR season, I think it's gonna be I think the start of the year is gonna pretty much be like 2020 was. I think there's gonna be some races with limited to no fans in attendance. I think the earliest we might see things clear up is maybe early June. By the time we get to the chase, though, in 2021, we should see things back to normal. Because there are a lot of states that are super strict on COVID restrictions. Let's put it in perspective. There are a lot of states that give a lot of fucks about COVID. There are some states that give some fucks about COVID. And the rest of the states that aren't in those categories, they give little to zero fucks. There are actually a few states that don't have a mask mandate. Just gonna put that out there for everyone here, just to show how many states give zero fucks about COVID. But yeah, gonna be an interesting 2021 season. But yeah. Anyway, the off season's here. So yeah, I'll have a couple videos up for racing from now till February. And of course, the big one will be the predictions one coming in late January. But yeah, that's all I gotta say for this. See you all in 2021. And of course, you also got my normal Lions vids, my Detroit sports vids. And of course, Pistons basketball starting back up now, so you'll have those. And Red Wings hockey expecting to come back in January. So yeah, you got that too. So there's still going to be content on here, just no real racing content until till like February. I'll have a couple vids out, but that's about it. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. Hope everyone's a great day, and yeah, peace, and let's enjoy the off season. NASCAR heavyweight champ C-Rad out.